Let me shift in my chair for this one. Welcome, 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 Black. Hello, welcome Black to my channel. How y'all doing? Let's get right into this video. I know you clicked on it because you're excited to see what I have to say about this, and trust me, I got a lot to say. So today we're gonna be talking about the casting of this film that's not all about Stagecoach Mary, who is a historical, iconic Black figure, but she will be represented in the movie, and people had some issues with the person that they chose to cast her in this film. Now, I want to preface this video with the fact that these are my opinions. These are what I think based on my knowledge, my background in African American studies, learning about these histories, having 2 degrees in African American studies, my college degree and my master's degree in African American studies. So this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm an expert. I'm not saying that I know everything. Please comment down below what you know. I want this to be a community where we all know, but these are just my opinions based off of my knowledge. So I just want to preface this video with that. And without further ado, let's get into this video because we ain't trying to be here all day. Okay. I mean, unless you would like to be, please be here all day and go through my channel, like this video, subscribe to my amazing channel, share, comment down below, let me know, get active, get involved. Let's make a relationship here. So let's get into some historical context. Before I start about the movie and the problems with it, I just want us to all to have a grounding understanding of who Stagecoach Mary was. So Mary Fields was born an enslaved person in Tennessee in 1832. Also, side note, someone commented on one of my videos, which I actually really appreciated this comment, saying that I should say enslaved person, not a slave. Or, that this person was a slave because they, were not born a slave. They weren't meant to be a slave in this life. They were enslaved. So I just think that's a good note. So I'm gonna make sure I be saying enslaved. If I don't say enslaved because I'm just talking, I forget, please check me. But yes, she was an enslaved person. And freed after the Civil War, she moved west to Montana. In 1895, at 60 years old, Fields was hired as a mail carrier because she was the fastest applicant to hitch a team of 6 horses. This made her the second woman and the first ever African American person to work for the U.S. Postal Service. She was an incredible worker. She never missed a day, and her reliability got her the name of Stagecoach Mary, or that's the name that was coined for her based on her reliability. Now, this was an incredible feat, of course, because, this woman was 60 years old, but also this was a very, very dangerous job. And she, was very I don't care, I am a threat to not only women, but men. I am here, I don't care how dangerous it is, I'm going to do this until I literally cannot. And she was very successful at this job. She was 6'2", boasted about the fact that she could defend herself, and she was just a tough, incredible woman. And a lot of times people would maybe learn about her, maybe in some history, not in Texas, because they took out a lot of the Black history in the textbooks. But a lot of people may have heard about her or just seen various movie depictions that they may have made about her. So yeah, she's a very well-known Black American figure, very important to our history and everything like this. And she was seen as really tough because she was, like I said, I think I said it now a couple of times, she was 6'2", so just imagine that. And she was of this bigger woman, and she was dark skinned. So that is what she looked like. I'm gonna have pictures, of course, on the screen so you'll see for yourself. Now let's get into the problem, which is gonna be the majority of this video, in terms of the casting of her in this new upcoming Netflix film. So on September 25th, Netflix announced that there will be a highly anticipated movie that is going to be released called The Harder They Fall, and that Zazie Beetz will be playing Stagecoach Mary. and a lot of people had issues with this. This is what Zazie Beetz looks like. If you did not know, she's a very great actress. She played in Deadpool, she played in Atlanta, she's played in a lot of different things. A lot of people know her. I feel like she's been in Atlanta's very popular. Deadpool, the movie series, is very popular. And she is a lighter skinned woman. She is biracial, and she'll be playing Stagecoach Mary. Now, before I really get into the nitty gritty, I would like to say that I have nothing against this woman personally. I think if I met her on the street, I think she'd be cool. Like, I don't really have any personal disdain towards her. I would like to say that for the record. I do not think anything bad about this woman at all. One important note that I want to clarify as well before I really get into it as well is that there have been movies that have been made about Stagecoach Mary, or movies where she like appeared in it. And all this to say, a lot of actresses, black actresses in the past have played her. Some of these notable actresses include Esther Rolle, Dawn Lewis, who also played her, Kimberly Elise, and even Erykah Badu. I bring this up because none of these women look like Zazie Beetz, okay, who have played her in the past. So I definitely want to say, like, it's not even like this is like the first movie that's happened where she's gonna be being depicted. And yeah, people have gotten it relatively right in the past, so it's important to make that note as well. Now, overall, the main issue is that Zazie Beetz looks nothing like Stagecoach Mary, and it's just really significant that they chose someone who is so much lighter, and just, it's not even like Zazie Beetz is like 6'2" or like a bigger woman. Like, she's smaller, she's biracial, she's light-skinned. She looks nothing like Stagecoach Mary, who, you know, the person that Stagecoach Mary actually looked like. And this becomes way more significant when you consider the fact that there's already not, I think maybe now there's starting to be a little bit more, but there's already not a lot of roles for like black people in general, let alone darker skinned black women, or black women in general. Dark skinned black women, bigger black women, X, Y, and Z. So it makes it feel like there's an erasure of darker skinned people, of dark people throughout history when you start to represent historical figures with someone who looks like Zazie Beetz. The fact of the matter is that there's not just 3 black actresses in Hollywood. I would see if there was only like 3 and they were just like, okay, well, we gotta just pick from the 3, even though when you watch a lot of these movies, it makes it seem like there's only a couple. Like, there were so many actresses who could have played her better, that at least had similar skin tones to her, or at least were bigger or like taller or whatever. So it's really significant that they seem to go out of their way to get someone who just looked so different from her. Now, for me personally, and this is something I also saw a lot of people point out, I think if Stagecoach Mary was a fictional character, I think this wouldn't have been that deep. Or if her character was not really supposed to represent the real Stagecoach Mary and was like Stagecoach Carrie or something, I think that would be different. But because she's representing a real person, like a genuine historical figure, I think that's the problem. That's like the big problem here. It's not a fictional character. This woman was real. And I feel like representing this real woman in this way ends up doing a disservice to her legacy, or her in general, and bringing people into the awareness of who this woman was. Because the fact of the matter is, there might be a lot of people who don't know or didn't know who Stagecoach Mary ever was. And while this controversy does bring a lot of attention to Stagecoach Mary, like who this woman was, like I feel like I see a lot of people like talking about her more and having pictures of her. So I guess in that way, it ends up bringing attention to her. But I'm like, if there's some person who's never heard of this woman who watches this movie, because they probably will, because it has an all-star black cast, you know, it looks really good, there's like a high attention, you know, that's being drawn to it. If you're watching this movie and you know that, and you find out that this was a real person, you're gonna think that she actually looked like that. You're gonna think that she looked like a Zazie Beetz, and she didn't. So even though you could do your own research and like see that she didn't, I feel like there's still just some kind of erasure going on of like, why did you choose her for this role, for this real person, you know? And this brings me to my next point, which is colorism in the Hollywood industry, the industry at large, all right? Let me shift in my chair for this one. At the end of the day, you know, Netflix is putting this movie on. At the end of the day, it is no question that when you're making a movie, you know, movies are expensive and there's a business that's going on here. You know, unfortunately, it's not always about who can represent this person. Well, maybe they felt she could represent her the best. I don't know. But it's not always about, I guess, for some folks in the industry, you know, these big production companies, whatever, you know, it's about what's going to make the most sense, dollars, that kind of sense, you know. What's going to draw people in, what's going to get people to sit here and watch this film. And a lot of times people in the industry and, you know, these like big corporations and companies who are, you know, putting this movie out, at the end of the day, they just want to make money. They want to know that the money they put up for this movie, they're going to get a profit back and all that stuff. So with that in mind, they're probably thinking, okay, who's someone who we can choose, who people like, who people want to see on screen, who, you know, is popular in their other movies or their other films. And, you know, you might be like, well, I love Deadpool, or I love Atlanta, and I loved her character, so of course I'm gonna support this movie. You know, they're thinking about that, which, you know, makes sense. It's a business. You gotta make money to keep making movies, X, Y, and Z, whatever. And I'm gonna just say it plain. They hired Zazie Beetz for this role probably because she is an attractive, attractive woman. She's mixed race, and they felt like if they chose an actress that looked a lot more like Stagecoach Mary, who was darker, who was bigger, who was whatever, they probably felt like that would not be taken as well. They probably thought that that person would not be as attractive as someone who is lighter and mixed race. That's what I gotta say. I feel like we've seen this time and time again in Hollywood, in the industry. I think it's just really telling that they chose someone who just looks so different than how this woman really looked. And yeah, it's literally colorism. Anyone can come to this conclusion when you ask yourself the question, why do you think hiring someone who looks like not at all like this dark-skinned, bigger black woman, why do you think that hiring someone who's lighter and mixed race to play her would have drawn people in more, would have gotten you more money? There's been a lot of black, dark-skinned actresses who have been in a lot of roles, who a lot of people would like, who, you know, have been in a lot of, you know, different things. So why not choose someone who at least phenotypically looks similar, a lot more similar? Anti-blackness, colorism, featureism, pretty privilege. Let's just put a name. Let's put a name to the monster, all right? We gotta name the beast in order to kill it, all right? Now, something I wanna bring up, which I think brings some nuance to the conversation, and, you know, comment down below what you think about this. So some of the discourse I was seeing on social media platforms, Twitter, podcasts or whatever, people who are talking about this, articles, were basically kind of wondering if it's the responsibility of the actress or the person chosen for this representation, in this case, Zazie Beetz, if it was her responsibility to turn down this role. I feel like a lot of times folks may know and understand that these big corporations are going to be racist, these big production companies or whoever's, you know, deciding these things, deciding who to cast, who not to cast or whatever, are, you know, have racist undertones potentially, colorist undertones potentially. So I think it's a lot harder to call that person out or that entity out, and instead, you know, call out maybe this actress who possibly should not have chosen the role. So comment down below if you think she should have not accepted the role. I'm going to give my opinion on this, but I think that's an interesting, you know, idea or something to consider. Now, before I give my opinion on this, I want to acknowledge that Hollywood has done this before many times. Comment down below sometimes that you've seen. I will only bring up the sinister depiction of Nina Simone when they hired Zoe Saldana to play her, and they literally had to put blackface on her in order to achieve this look, which was just sinister. It was truly sinister. In that case, Zoe Saldana, the second she showed up and saw the makeup and saw what they have to do, I would have been like, cut it, I can't, get me out of this contract, whatever. Either way, she researched who Nina Simone was. I know Zazie Beetz researched who Stagecoach Mary was, so the second she did that, it should have been done. But, you know, I would just want to acknowledge that this has been done before. And I will say, even though the bar is on the floor, because that Nina Simone thing was wild, even though the bar is on the floor, I still feel like from the trailers I've seen and the previews I've seen, Zazie Beetz looks like herself relatively playing Stagecoach Mary. So it doesn't seem like they like darkened her up, put some makeup on her. So I will say, again, the bar is on the floor, but at least that is something. At least that's something. And I will say, you know, in terms of an artistic perspective, to acknowledge the other side, I absolutely understand. I mean, I'm not an actor, I'm not an actress, like, you know, so but I do understand maybe an actor, actress wanting to accept a role or take a role that challenges them, you know, that really will make them reflect, that'll make them do research, that'll make them, you know, really transform themselves. I absolutely understand, you know, the appeal of that. And I also understand that, you know, you want to make your money and you want to be in these great films with these all-star casts. Like, I get it. I really do understand it from a job perspective, from a hustling perspective, from a this is your career and you're offered this great role and you're not really whatever. But I keep coming back to the fact that, one, the fact that this is based on a real person. So to me, when Zazie Beetz was doing the research for this woman, I think she should have seen what this woman looked like and said no. I think she should have not taken this role. Comment down below what you think. But at the same time, what I will say personally, in my perspective, while she should not have taken this role should not have been offered to her. And I think that both parties are equally wrong, but the person who offered her the role, to me, is more wrong because you knew better. And, you know, I feel like from what I've seen so far, it's been controversy. I think people are still gonna watch this film, and maybe the controversy will make them watch it more. Maybe that was this terrible, sinister, you know, purpose of doing this. Maybe they were like, well, people are gonna be controversial about it, which means they're probably gonna watch it. Regina King, I'm gonna watch it because of Regina King, icon. All right, so either way, I'm going to watch the film. But I will say I've only really seen controversy about it, and I wonder if like Zazie Beetz is like thinking twice about her accepting this role. Maybe she's done some interviews about it, and not, you know, again, I have nothing against her, so like, you know, it's whatever. But yeah, overall, comment down below if you think she should have accepted this role, and is it the responsibility of people in this situation or in these places of privilege to like not only not accept the role, but to maybe suggest, because I do think, you know, you have power. If you're a popular actor, you have power to then possibly even suggest that somebody who looks the opposite of them or looks really darker than them or is at least taller or bigger than them or whatever should in fact take that role instead. So comment down below, tell me what you think about that. But yeah, that's my 5 cents on that. And one of the last things I want to say about this in terms of the problem, I think it's so frustrating that this seems to happen to our Black pioneers. Like, this seems to happen to like Black people when we're finally starting to now be represented on screen. Again, not all the time, this does not happen every single time, but I think because I think this is specifically something that would happen to Black people because there's such a range in skin tone when it comes to our people. Now, there's also a range in skin tone for other groups, other marginalized communities, other non-white folks. I know a lot of people had problems with In the Heights, because specifically for what they were representing in New York, there was a really big like Afro-Latinx population that was just erased, that was literally just swiped out and literally put in the background of that film. While I think people were still like, you should see it or whatever, there was just a lot of controversy about that. So I think it's really for many communities of color, like there is a problem because there is just such a range of phenotype when it comes to like who is going to represent this person and or these people, and like how that's going to be received by the public. And for me, I see two really big fundamental issues when you represent folks in like maybe the wrong phenotype when it comes to a community that you're trying to represent, or a real person in history that you really want to represent. And this takes some nuance in understanding you know, marginalized communities, and this takes nuance in understanding the fact that darker skinned people have a very different perspective. So that would be the first point, is that, you know, darker people have a very different perspective and maneuver this world completely differently. While, you know, for example, all of us are black, whether you're light, whether you're darker, whether you're, you know, mixed race. I think we're all black and we're all going to experience a lot of similar things. So it's not to create more divisions, but anti-blackness is global. Colorism is global. It's important when you're representing folks on screen, especially like I said, when you're representing real people or real communities, that you hire people. And if you're work for casting, please listen up, or you know someone who does, send them this video, send them this section. That's very important, because you maneuver things differently. Darker people have a specialized oppression that we may experience, just like, you know, other folks might have a very different oppression. Like if you're a part of the LGBTQIA+ community, you're gonna have a specific oppression. If you're bigger, you're gonna have a specific oppression. If you're, I don't know, X, Y, and Z, disabled, you're gonna have a specific oppression. If you're darker, you're gonna have a specific oppression. So that's really important to try to, if you're gonna try to capture that on film. And I think nowadays people are really willing and ready to call colorism out a little bit more, which is great. And the second issue with this is that when you hire people who are just lighter, it's usually like you're hiring people who are lighter. In the case of the Malcolm X movie, you know, Denzel is darker than Malcolm X. He killed it, so I don't know. That was just different. But when you're doing this, you are literally erasing darker people. You're literally erasing, and that's how it starts. You start erasing the darkest people. Then essentially everything is white, or everything is just this like mix. But it's like, that's not necessarily how everyone looks. So, you know, it's not really representative of people's real experiences, and you are contributing to the erasure of black people, of dark people of many different backgrounds. And this is anti-black. This is anti-blackness. That's important to consider. You know, please know this at these, you know, casting people at these production companies or whatever. Just please keep this in mind. Representation is extraordinarily important. And yeah, we gotta keep talking about this. All right, so let's get into some takeaways. I don't really, you know, they're kind of broad this time, just two. But the first takeaway, my nails look nice. Okay, first takeaway is skin tone matters when you're representing real people, when you're representing black people, even when you're representing fictional people. Skin tone of these actresses or these people matter. Like I said, really, when you're representing real people, skin tone matters, all right? I'm over the whole colorblind. I mean, colorblind casting can work in some instances, of course, but I'm like, come on. So let's just keep that a buck. You know, I want to say right here for this record, I want to say this so we all can hear it together. If I end up doing incredible things in my life, which I foresee myself doing, screenwriting extraordinaire, YouTuber, all these things. If somebody, I'm saying this for the record, if somebody wants to make a movie about me one day, do not hire somebody who is lighter than a brown paper bag. I will come back from the dead. I will haunt you. Don't do it, please. I would like to say that for myself. I would like to say that for the record, please do not do it, all right? So just think about this when you're representing these real people, please. And takeaway number 2. Okay, takeaway number 2, please keep calling out this BS. Please keep calling it out. I was actually really glad from what I saw. I know, people, the fielding your Twitter feed is like a thing, but I feel like I saw a lot of like backlash against this. And I feel like it's important to keep calling these things out, in a very, these things have backing. Like colorism is like a thing, like, featureism, representations, misrepresentations is a historical thing. So, it's not, weird if you kind of feel some type of way about this kind of stuff. So I feel like please continue to call it out. It's very important to do this. I think it's ridiculous. I think these things are ridiculous when, these representations are being made. So let's continue to keep calling things out, period. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please look out for my next video. I will be making a really big announcement. I don't want to give too much away about it, but I'll be making a big announcement. There are going to be some changes coming to my channel. I'll give you a big hint. I'll be making a big move. All right, that's the big hint. I'll be making a big move. So please look out for my next video. Comment down below. Tell me, should Zazie Beetz have declined this role? What do you think about this? Let me know. I want to hear your perspective. So yes, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.